Hello everybody, welcome to the first game of Aurora Overwatch Clash Season 8 here. First game already starting on the Tuesday here, where it's going to be the St. Paulies versus the Zimbabwe Zebras here. How are you feeling going into the first game of the season so far, Booney?
I'm really excited to see where these teams kind of lie. I think it gives us a pretty good parameter of what to expect the rest of the way. Maybe when we look at these teams, like what we think they came out of the draft with, you see how they play together, you see how the teams are stacking up. And honestly, after this draft, of course, there's so many questions going in. A lot of teams kind of hang around the middle pack, in my opinion. So perhaps these early wins in the group stage will be a huge turning factor of who gets a better seed, I guess, in the playoffs. But we're not worried about that one just yet. We're just getting to our first map of the season, so playoffs is a very long way away. But anyway, we're back WYND. We're going to our first map at Lijiang Tower. I could not be more excited for the season to really kick off here.
Oh, I'm so excited as well. Me and you casting together, it's going to be very fun. But as we're seeing Lijiang Tower, a very classic here for both teams. As we're seeing, I'm hoping is a meme comp here coming out from the Zimbabwe Zebras with Fire on Ball, Yak on Rat, Neptune. Okay, Neptune on Fire, that seems reasonable here, right? Neptune Fire, we have Mercy, but Fireball is not something I'm looking to expect here. Well, we're looking at a little bit more of a traditional comp here from the side of the St. Paulies here with Yoda on Ram. And we're coming out with Slade, I believe is a rookie this season.
That is
Coming out on
correct.
the
Slade is a rookie, so excited to see how they perform. I believe they are 2,300 on DPS. So I believe support is their main role, so a bit of an off role here for him. But Corey on Lucio is definitely an interesting look here. Of course, no more for that flex support, but being paired up with Cray here. Cray more focusing on that flex support. Interesting how the support lane plays out the rest of the season, putting a lot of SR in these two players.
Oh yeah, we're already looking at the St. Paul. He's getting ran down by Fire as we saw early damage coming out. First Nemesis form coming out from Fire as Yoda's already running out of armor here. The pressure is being put onto the St. Paulies. Now they're all stuck on coast against a Fire who is Boop. This is going to be very, very scary for the team as Neptune's going to get the first pick onto Cray. Going in for the greed. Gets the Boop kill onto Corey. Gets two. Fire cleaning up on the point here onto Nathan with the Ram form coming out from Fire and Yoda back. As we're seeing Yoda trying to get the trade on the Neptune, but Fire is going to clean up getting that Nemesis form kill onto Yoda as we're going into the next fights shortly after.
I mean, that was just a great all-around play coming up from Zimbabwe Zebras. They saw the slow on the coastline, got Neptune over on that flank with the pharmacy. It was just pelting the damage as well as the boop off onto Corey. And you see the swaps already here going over to this dive look. Cray does swap to the bat, but then goes back to the Kiriko very soon after. So lose that all charge here could be a kind of hurting factor here in the next two fights or so, being down that Kira rush here early in the fights.
Oh yeah, it seems like maybe the comms were a little miscommunicated here, but I think the scariest thing here is Yoda is playing Winston, and I think it might be a little bit more of a diva swap here, but it could just be comfortability. It's going to be threat because Ram is just going to punch through your bubble as we're seeing right here Yoda falling down to Fire, but Nathan does get the first pick here on the dish, but we're seeing Neptune getting himself traded out, trading himself for Corey, so all the high SR, the super high SR players are off the league as Sliced Bread falls on next. Fire using his Ram form to clean up, but Yak gets traded out for Slade. It's just going to be Nathan and Fire on the point. But the point is going to seem to be in the way still here of the Zimbabwe Zebras as the St. Paulies come up.
Yeah, we're seeing Yoda having to back up here. Had to use the bubble to go away with Neptune returning to the fray. They do get Dish once again here, though, going into the spawn room to get that Juno out of the way. Dish cannot build up this orbital array. Corey's in a tough position, though. They can get this kill over onto Corey and the res as well. A huge play on the coastline here for Zimbabwe as the fight continues on point, but Yoda is desperately in the bubble, just trying to get out of the life. 1 HP, the Suzu is there. But it doesn't happen. All the cooldowns are being forced out here from the St. Paulies, and right now Zimbabwe's in total control of this map.
Oh yeah, first ultimates are coming online for the side of the St. Paulies here, but Yoda does get Fire. But for the trade of both their supports now, it's coming in. Neptune gets pulsed by Nathan. Very impressive. They're not going to be able to get the res here as the Winston is going to pressure this out. But when Yoda's one and Nathan's one, Yak is going to be able to get the cleanup on Nathan, allowing Sliced Bread to get the res onto Neptune. It's going to be very hard for them to even be able to touch the point here now, as I believe that's going to be the first sub-map going in favor of the Zebras here.
And yeah, only a 3-man beat there, the Emperor Corey. Nathan, despite the heroics of the Kobe Bryant fadeaway shot there on a Neptune, but the reses have been ginormous here actually for Zimbabwe. Whenever they got a pick here from St. Paul, it's instantly brought back from Sliced Bread, showing off that this rookie backline, complete rookie backline, has got some teeth to it here early in the season. And we're saying, I guess not we, but I was saying on the Booney Spin Power Rankings, this team could easily boost up into the top 3 if these two rookies on support line perform, and they're doing really well so far, just keeping Neptune alive. This reminds me a lot of the Ciories, I'm not gonna lie, just from the offset here. But of course, going into this next map on Control Center, sticking with a dive look here from Yoda on the Winston, and I am surprised to see that, just because of how hard it struggles on the last point, and I think a little rough here as well in the enclosed little area. Tougher
Yes,
jump.
it is going to be traditionally rough, but as you can see here, it is going to counter the comp so far. Both bubbles already out by fire, only being able to generate about 30 bits of energy, but Disc goes first and then Yoda falls down next. Obviously, and still in favor for the Zebras as the St. Paulies do lose their tank early on. Suzu gets forced out by Cray, but then Fire is going to be able to capitalize off that as Corey's going to be stuck onto the objective, as that's going to be the first capture here in favor of the Zimbabwe Zebras.
I do not like what I'm seeing here right now from the same Paulies. I'm not gonna lie. We're seeing Corey kind of playing his own little game on the Lucio, and we're seeing Yoda dive in with really no follow-up in from Slade or Nathan, and just getting punished very early here. So potentially a playstyle adaptation has to come in here for St. Paulies, or they are going to lose this point very quickly. You see Yoda is taking so much poke damage before he can get into the choke here, and really Fire is able to hold the space and get the charge with his bubbles.
Oh yeah, I think the bigger issue here is now Fire has fully developed his energy, something that's going to be very scary to see against the Zarya, especially as a Winston, because they could just walk into the bubble whenever or break bubble super easily, as Fire's just going to be able to be so oppressive and getting the final last picks, getting 3 there. But I think the scariest thing is, are they going to be able to build an ultimate before the fight's gonna, or the map's gonna be over? They're close to the Cray, 90%. But if they're not gonna be able to use it in a nice little spot here. If the Zimbabwe Zebra can use their pulse or their grav or their dragons in a very opportune spot.
Yeah, Nathan does force an early recall here, though, from Neptune's forced retreat back over towards the point. Fire has to concede the space, use the bubble to get away. Cray close to this ultimate here, ready to pop it at a moment's notice, slide swapping over onto the Cassidy, trying to deal with Neptune in the background. But here comes an early casino out from Cray, forced on a ball from Fire, but the Graviton surges in on Yoda. Yoda is critical and stuck in that Graviton surge, and Corey jumps in to the Dragon! And meets the Maw, the DPS line of the Zimbabwe Zebras, going back and forth 2 for 2. And Nathan just trying to escape with their own life here at 70%. One fight territory and really nothing to work with. Nathan has to land yet another massive pulse bomb.
Oh yeah, especially if you're looking at this, so far the submap has been very in favor for the DPS ults and the tank ult for the side of the Zebras versus the support ults here from the other side of the St. Paulies. As Corey's going to be split by his team, he's not going to be able to get the Murti. It does get the Suzu and allows him to get the B. Going on to Pulse, the Pulse comes out, but does get Suzu now and gets bubbled. Corey's going to fall onto point by himself. Yoda's looking to get a trade on the dish, is going to find it successfully here as Fire's looking to get Cray. Yoda is falling out of Nemesis form here now, is going to get punished. But you are seeing Slade, but unfortunately nobody's going to be able to touch him, whereas Cray is not going to be able to get there. And first map here is going to go 2-0 in favor of the Zimbabwe Zebras.
A very dominant showing there on Li Zhang. I don't like that dive look so far from St. Paulies. Maybe got to cook a little more in the oven here. This is only your first map of the season. So, you know, can't exactly say no just yet. But we've also been seeing a lot recently just in the meta how Winston has been struggling. Really, every single meta tank can deal with the Winston, and Winston just doesn't quite find the value that he used to compared to, say, an Orisa or a Hazard or even a Ram we saw from Fire. It's just going to be really tough if Yoda decides to play that character. I need to see some swaps here from St. Paulies going into map 2, whatever that might be.
Yeah, it seems like the code does not have Freya in it, unfortunately, so far. So Neptune is going to have to cry himself to sleep a little bit here, as it's just going to be his crutch that he's not going to be able to play. But going into this next map, we don't know what they're going to be picking shortly. But we are going to go to a short little break here, everybody, so stay tuned.
These beats are the purest. Prove it.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Overwatch Clash Season 8 with the first game of the season going on. By the way, Booney, they switch sides. Defense is going to be the Zebras.
Got it.
And we are coming into here, second map so far. We saw dominance showing here from the Zebras, having the, you're seeing fire on the Zarya and the Ram, being able to set up Yak and Neptune. Is just so oppressive a little bit here. As Yoda's, we're seeing now a comp that's going to be fitting them a little bit more, as we're going to be seeing Corey onto the Ana and Yoda onto the Winston with Slade on the Freya. Is going to be very interesting to see, as now we're seeing the defense play Zarya on Gibraltar. Very, very interesting look here. It's very non-traditional. But we'll be able to see how their team plays this out here, playing the Zarya, Hanzo, Torb versus the Winston, Freya, Echo. So many people in the air. The Torb, the dive threat is going to be there, but you have a lot of flyers that can just poke around, and Yoda can go in whenever. It's just that Yoda's not going to be able to go in too much, but we'll see how both teams play this out here.
Yeah, and of course, we also did need to bring up the fact that Freya wasn't actually enabled on that first map. So we're seeing Freya here from Slade early on Watchpoint Gibraltar. And you think that, Neptune didn't have access to Freya, so this team might be even more scared than what we saw in Lijiang Tower. Definitely a threatening thing, but of course going over onto Watchpoint Gibraltar, it has to be a good map here for the St. Paulies if they want to opt into this dive look. We'll see. Yoda is going back to spawn, maybe looking to a swap, maybe like a Diva look, I'm not sure.
Ram, I think. Ram would be a little bit better here. Diva's going to be rough into the Zarya. At least you'd have bubble for it. I feel like you could play Ram and just hard focus. The objective here is going to be a little bit better, as it's going to be hard for the other team to be able to touch the objective if you guys brawl the point. But Cart finally gets under and Zarya drops. The Zarya is no longer on the high ground, as now the St. Paulies are going to be able to immediately steal all that high ground here and be able to pressure out just by fire dropping. But Yoda goes in a little bit deep here, does get demacked, and that is going to let the fire falling down to 200 HP. This is going to be able to let the Zimbabwe Zebras takes a little bit of space.
Yeah, I can't really say I agree with the swap here over onto those Diva, because like you said, the Zarya will make it difficult, but also what are you really diving on, because they have the Torbjorn who can play so far back and just use that turret to split your attention. There's no like nades or eating or anything, so I just don't see the value in the Diva swap here. I mean, the Winston would be fine, I'd think, most likely, or like you said, play this more Zarya or Ram focus comp on the point, make them come to you, fight in interpress. You have the Ana. You have the ability to land a big nade force on early Susie. You have the tools to make it work. There's opting against Diva look, and I don't really know if I agree with it just yet.
Well, we're seeing the stickies from Nathan finally giving Zarya the 100 energy, all that fire wants here. Now, it's going to be hard to push this objective now that you don't have a Winston, because Yoda's not going to be able to walk anywhere unless they want to wait about like 50 seconds to let fire lose all of his energy, which is just not preferable, as Yak is going to be able to get the bubble and contest this high ground. His Tuner's chasing underneath, going after Slade on the Freya. He is going to get out alive, though. But how do we get to the objective? But slowly but surely, fire, it was losing energy. Now it just went back to 100. No bubbles. As we're seeing the Kitsune coming in from Dish. The pressure coming out onto Corey, as he's not going to be able to get an ult anymore. It's just going to be so threatening. But who does Corey ult now in this comp? That's something you have to think about.
I mean, I would probably put the Nano over onto my Echo here, just try to get her in the back line, at least deal the Torb turret with the Nano, but still, they're kind of exchanging back and forth here, but you gotta favor the numbers right now for the side of the Zimbabwe Zero, especially get Yoda out of mech here. That'd be disastrous for him. Yoda is trying to run away, trying to get it with his mech, will do so. They have the Nano online, they have 5 ults basically to use against 3 ults on the other side. They have to win this fight, or it's gonna be full hold here for WYND, and it's not looking good so far.
Oh yeah, we're seeing the Freya coming out, just getting some pot shots in the grab. Unfortunately, is just gonna find Cray there. I believe I was tabbed out. I'm so sorry.
The grab got Cray, and then Yoda kind of slid in right as the grab was expiring. But yeah, they got the Kiriko out of the fight. She couldn't use the Kasuna rush, and now you have 5 ults here to use. The Dragon comes out here early here from Yak. I think just trying to get himself out there, was getting dove on the high ground blue box, but use the ult to stay alive and they're going to use the Molten Core here as well to try to stave off the aggression, stave off the rotation coming through here from the side of the St. Paulies, and they have to respect that they're playing so stuck in this corner. Now they have nowhere to go. Yak's on the other high ground. They're being completely pushed into a corner right now.
Oh yeah, Yoda going in, getting the Nano already, looking to get the pick on to Neptune, but one bubble's going to come out for Tuna. He's going to be able to live. As now the Orbital Ray coming out for Sliced Bread. Yoda's using a Poco Bomb.
Got one.
He gets dished. But now we're down to sub 20 seconds. Nathan going in with the dupe. They do get the pick on to fire and Sliced Bread. As now it's going to be cleanup here after the Pokebomb, being able to eliminate the Kirikou, one of the flex supports here. for the side of the Zimbabwe Zebras, and we might not see a full hold, possibly.
Looks like they're kind of going for your Senate for the Juno and Zarya, at least here. They know they only had the Bolo shot to work with. If Neptune can get back on this venture, can stall the card out long enough for Fire to get that energy back online for the contest. An early nade, though, will force out an aggressive bubble here from Fire. It's not exactly what they want. Corey kept up with the Suzu as well. Bolo shot not quick on the land, but Neptune is flying very weak. They're going to lose out Yoda's mech as well as Neptune. So it's 1-for-1 basically exchange here. As Nathan on top of the high ground, just looking down on this point, uses a focusing beam, and the kills are here for the same Paulies as Fire is just 1v3 on this cart, edge it up in half HP, make that 0. We'll get 1 for the stat card, but that's not going to be nearly enough as Neptune finally concedes. It matches the Freya, but a really good first defense there for Zimbabwe Zebras. However, they don't have control of Spaceship just yet as Nathan's up there ready to pounce.
Oh yeah, coming out here next, we are going to be seeing no ultimates on the side here for St. Paulies, while we're seeing still the Kitsune on the side. Coming online to another grab is Cray is going to be able to find the first pick here onto Yak, opening up. The flex DPS is gone. The Fire's not going to be able to interact with them too much. The issue is here, Fire has to drop to brawl the point, as nobody else he can fight, right? Everybody else is flying in the air, but if Fire does not touch the point, who is?
Going for you here, Yoda on a bit of a dive. Neptune falling pretty low. Nano boost invested once again on this Diva, but Graviton surged right up. Still right now, there's an ult exchange on the high ground, but you definitely take that Nano for the grab any day of the week there. When you are a Zarya player yourself, you know the pain of losing your Graviton surge like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's a gap, I'm not going to say. All I'm saying, there's a gap, it's somewhere here, right? Somebody has to find it out. As Yoda's going in, fun 1v5 does get, or not 1v5, but 1v1 against Zarya, who's 100 energy, and Neptune guiding the next nice little bull on the Cray, and Corey falling down next. It is not looking good here for the Zimbabwe Zebras, but they did get the cart about 80% of the way to the objective, so all they need is one clean fight. But now we ran into the problem after the first fight. Zarya has energy developed. How are we going to solve this answer? You don't have time to wait it out anymore.
Yeah, Zarya has the energy as well as Neptune has the high ground for the Freya to just work with. As you come through these chokes, it'll be very difficult to just not take the poke damage coming on through. Slade can potentially get a Bolo shot here mid-fight, but looking at Cray's ult has to be the game changer here. Only ult online, basically, that can turn a fight. I mean, Nathan might dupe the Zarya or maybe a Freya or something like that. I'm not sure, but you gotta look to Cray to get this value here, to get this cart just over the edge of point B. But Yak is holding down the choke, close to a blade here, ready to go. Yoda very aggressive on point, halfway down already on HP. Cray forced to go in to help the Diva.
Oh yeah, coming online, we're seeing the duplicate onto the Zarya, being able to bubble your Diva who's going in. Hopefully, at least, as Yak's falling down already, you having to burn deflect already, but Yoda's already getting low HP. Nathan gets that energy developed, trying to build that grab. 92, so close to being able to have this threatening with the Kitsune coming out here from Cray.
Oh.
He misses the hits, hits Fire. Fire walks into it. Yak coming out with the blade, gets 1, gets 2, looking for 3 for blood, but nobody's going to be able to, 3. Trying to look for 4. Can we look for a 4th pick here? First game in the series.
Supportal combat.
Looking.
Combat.
Looking. Oh, Cray gets 2 though. Can Cray
Still supportal combat. Oh.
But I mean, hey, that's not a bad push when trying to play Diva into Zarya like that. Okay. Even on something like this map.
Yeah, no, not too shabby there. And they were close to getting it over the edge there. Corey and Cray with the Nano were able to almost get over the line, but Dish on the Kiriko just able to keep Team alive for just long enough to find the picks and stop that push in its tracks. And, you know, I thought it could have turned there, especially with Fire walking in that Graviton surge from Nathan. Nathan just grabbing his demons, but, you know, giving a bit of charity there as Fire walking into that one, having to burn the bubbles and get picked off early, but they're just able to survive long enough to get the picks just in time. And Corey just a couple seconds late on that Nano to keep someone else alive on the point. And now, coming in here just at the end of point B, of course, this is Watch Point Gibraltar. We do see a lot of full holds here, especially on point A. And if we are seeing like this kind of divey look here, well, never mind. I was going to say if we're seeing, you know, like the Diva, like the Winston, I like that here on the high ground, drop up and down off blue box and just kind of keep point contested for a couple seconds here. But looks like they're kind of opting into the Brawl mirror here. And I got to wonder if, you know, the Neptune May, the Yak Genji is just simply too much. Especially with Yoda going on to do the reset here. I know it is really meta, but, I mean, if Zarya gets high charge, that horse gets melted and sent right to the glue factory.
Right to the glue factory, indeed. Can we talk about how Neptune did have to go to his Freya crutch, though? It's kind of disappointing already so soon in the series. Complains about Freya not being enabled and then has to go to it right away. Anyways, coming out here, I do like the comp here from the Zebras a little bit better this time because you don't really need to hard force the high ground and because the cart doesn't go up there. You can just hard force the cart, but it's a little bit harder to do that on defense when your Zarya goes down to low ground. You can't really defend the high ground anymore. And then all the angles start to get developed on you. But the biggest question is, who touches the cart now? You don't have a Winston anymore. You don't have a Diva coming out from Yoda. Somebody has to sit on the cart and fight this Mei.
Yeah, and there isn't like a Tracer or anything either that can just kind of stay live by themselves as well to get that point contested. But Yak is going deep, gets melted on down. So a good start for the defense here. But the cart is already on the underpass here, Vind. And it's not looking good here, Wind. You're not Vind.
Who's
I apologize.
Who's Vind?
That's my German accent.
Good.
That's my German accent saying your name. But anyway, coming in, Fire
okay.
is going to get melted onto this point. But still, a decent amount of progress already here for the attackers. Getting a minute and getting already under that underpass. And then get Yoda here maybe staggered out. Could be bad, but looks like he'll stay nice and healthy. And get Core the Nano.
All good. Coming out here, the biggest thing you got out of that fight was not actually winning the fight. It was more like getting rid of the energy development, right? Now, we are going to be brawling on the cart while you still have flyers. You can go up to high grounds. I really like the Ana in this comp because it will kill if Dish does not time their fuses correctly. Yak does get the pick onto Nathan here, though. And we're seeing the Blizzard already. Yoda's going to eat this, though. We know that. Yoda's got this in the bag.
Yeah, Go got this. They do. Oh, what the hell?
Where is this Blizzard?
The demons. They're getting chilly down there. Hell froze over because all we saw. The voices gonna get Blizzard up and out. Slade's gonna capitalize on a bit of a misplay there from the attackers as Terror Surge comes in. Yak cleans on up. They will get these kills and Fire is still pushing the cart, but he's got 1 HP. There's nothing he can do. It got close.
Now we're really seeing attackers' advantage coming into play here. All those people who have seen the PGE video or seen Pirate or whatever you want to say, I see you, chat. We're seeing attackers' advantage really coming into play here, especially when you're seeing Yoda, the Chad Orisa playing in Fire, the Virgin Zarya.
I will say, Wind, you know what would have been good right there? Blizzard.
What? Blizzard would have been pretty good, I
Yeah,
think.
I think so.
Question is, who are you blizzing? Everybody's mobile. You have to blizz the Ana because you're just going to see gold coming out from Yoda.
At least force positioning or something. Better than just getting zero, getting nothing. I mean, Slice Bread and Slide are going to exchange out here. Yak has a blade, pops on lane, ready to go. But a lot of ults coming in here. A lot of cooldowns pushed over towards this Genji. And right now, the kills are here for the same Paulies as Zimbabwe is scratching for answers here. As they got nothing so far. 1.5 minutes left on the clock, and they're going to get staggered out if they're not careful.
Oh yeah, coming out here. Fire's still trying to develop this energy. Still at sub 30. Oh, okay, I lied. Zarya is now going to be at 80 plus energy coming into this final 2 fights here. Kitsune coming out from Dish, getting Yoda, who's on this off angle, very split from his team. The Bola comes out, does force the we're seeing Suze already used. We're seeing TP already used. We're seeing Recall already used. All these defensive cooldowns coming out here are being forced out. All we have to look for abuse is Fire's going to have that 100 energy. Does find the grab onto Ana. Like I said, this is who your target is looking for. As Yoda's going to fall. Cray falls down next. As now we're seeing the final touches here. As Nathan's going to be the last to fall with 3 minutes left here after they get a trade.
Yeah, Corey has now has looked down a black hole by himself as well as a blizzard, the Arctic Tundra coming in. They want this on a dead, and like you said, it's a great target for them if they can get that isolated target on him because there is really nothing else you can do. But they able to stabilize with the help of Casino Rush, keeping the heals alive. The Suses were just barely on time, and now Orbital Ray here early trying to force Yoda away and keep control of Spaceship here for Zimbabwe. It's looking like it's working so far.
Oh yeah, especially because Fire still has energy. You have to very respect this orbital right even more than you have used to before. But now you're seeing Neptune on this Tracer here, right? He's going to be able to force the cart, so Fire doesn't have to go to the cart anymore to push it. They finally solved their question on who's going to push the objective. Yoda is already going to be forcing Neptune off the objective here, which is what they got to do, because they need to get... Fire has to get to low ground. But
Corey does with Nano.
Corey's going to fall. And I believe that's going to seal the deal into the second map here, as now we're seeing other heroes. We saw Cray and Yoda fall with their ults as well, unfortunately, as Zebras are going to win map 2, albeit closely. Okay, let's be honest, there's like a minute left on the clock, right? It was a close map. We saw it on first point, so I'm not too upset to see here from the St. Paulies. I think they still have a fight to give out here.
Yeah, a lot more competitive than the first map, but just unfortunately at the end, just the ult's too much to overcome, and dying with Nano, dying with the Terror Surge, Definitely a rough look there for the St. Paulies as they got now pull off the first reverse sweep of the season to even stay alive. And, it's going to be a rough turn here when we're seeing how good the Zimbabwe Zebras are looking with this, with these rookies, with this lineup. And the three-headed monster of Neptune, Yak, and Fire are definitely performing here early in the season.
Oh yeah, especially when you could put somebody, or you could put like Dish and Sliced Bread on the support role. You kind of just don't have to worry about it too hard as long as you just keeping the aggressive tempo.
And
enough,
you have
right?
Neptune
lower
probably
SR
just
isn't really-
just yapping their ears off, telling them what to do,
That's probably a minimal effect of it. But
Yeah,
coming
Neptune's the quiet guy. He never says anything.
Hey, when I was on that ringer team the other day, we were just told not to talk. Okay, so maybe all I saw from Neptune this season was him not talking. So I don't know if that's a sign or something. But coming in, we're looking to see what these next maps are. But folks, you're gonna stay tuned as we're gonna go to a short break here while we wait to see what the St. Paulies are gonna do for the third map. Hello, everybody. Welcome back for the third time here, coming into Aurora Overwatch Clash Season 8, St. Paulies versus the Zimbabwe Zebras, as we're going to be seeing Saravasa coming out for the third map after we just saw the Zebras took their second out of 3 minimum required wins here to win the series, as now we're on match point. Hopefully not looking for a full sweep for our first game of the series, though. But, I mean, how have you been feeling looking at both the teams and how they've been performing so far here, Booney?
I am definitely impressed with the way the Zimbabwe Zebras are performing. The Dish and Sliced Bread support duo, the rookies, are playing extremely well right now, on top of, the Fire, Yak, Neptune doing their thing. But I am leaving now, I think, with a little more questions for the St. Paulies than I had potentially before the season. You know, I'm not liking really what I'm seeing in terms of the comp choices or even just general play style. So, I mean, this thing could easily be, ironed out with some scrims and whatever. So, I'm not going to be too judgmental right now. But as of right now, they got themselves quite a hole to climb, even compared to the Zimbabwe Zebras.
Especially here, because we're seeing the Fire on the tanks. I know Fire was not looking to play tank here. They told Neptune that if I'm playing tank, it's going to be Ramacho Zarya only. Let me tell you that. He does not want to be playing anything else. He just wants to be having fun, playing it like a little bit like a ranked game. As we're seeing almost mirror comps coming out here, at least in the sides of the tank. You're still seeing Junos on both teams. You're seeing Freya coming out from Neptune from the crutch here. But we still see Nathan and Flambo. We're playing this really close range brawl here. With Yoda and the Zarya, we need to look to get a pick here, as now we're seeing the first engages, both Juno rings coming out. Looking for a pick, Nathan forcing already his Wraith, going to be punished by Neptune in the sky. Yoda falling down to 1. Yak with his left clicks in the backline, but Yoda's going to get the first pick here on the transflect. Point did get flipped on the side of the St. Paulies here, but it's going to get returned. But Yoda and Nathan are going to clean up, as Nathan is going to be able to get 2, getting Slice Bread and Fire, and Yoda's going to be able to get the cleanup on Yak, as they only lost 11% there for the first fight. Going pretty good inside of St. Paulies.
And yeah, there we go. The St. Paulies composition looks a lot better here, especially with Flambo Jamba on the Mei, able to punish that front line with Fire. And you also have Nathan able to get those bubbles on the Reaper in the flanks and just put some pressure on Transflect and Sliced Bread. So I like what I'm seeing so far here from St. Paulies. And adaptation comes through early, though, as Neptune is going to swap off the Freya over onto the Pharah, knowing there's no real long-range hit to deal with the Pharah in the sky. So now it's just complete spam versus complete brawl, as we got the Junkrat Pharah versus the Reaper Mei. Definitely not something I thought you'd see here early in the season, but as of right now, Neptune is just controlling the ankles, keeping Corey and Cray back in that choke and allowing Fire to walk to point. But Flambo Jambo has found Transflect, a great start.
And no way, Nathan is just allowed to drop onto Slice Bread as well. Now, what I'm seeing here that's really good for the side of the St. Paulies, right? Obviously, all your SR on the side of these Zimbabwe Zebras is going to be very frontline weighted, right? You're having Fire, Yak, and Neptune on the DPS and tanks, but we're seeing Nathan being able to slip his way through the cracks, getting onto Transflect and Sliced Bread, where little more mistakes are going to be slipping through the cracks from these players that are going to be slightly lower SR, but Nathan's going to be able to punish that and be able to get value by making sure that the front line is going to be able to stay stable.
Yeah, I mean, which is actually fairly surprising. We haven't seen this really, I guess, taken advantage of early in the series, right? Because the teams are built basically the exact opposite, where you have all your SR in the DPS for the Zimbabwe Zebras, all your SR in the supports for the St. Paulies. And if you're in a brawl mirror, you want the better supports. You can just play a Mei, you can just play a Reaper. So why not allow Corey and Cray to help keep your tank alive and carry this team like they're doing so far right now?
Coming online, points about to come online. The first soul coming on by Fire. The Blizz coming out from Flambo, trying to turn the fight. Transflect gets frozen, does get traded out as Neptune gets 2. Looking for a third here, using the barrage. Just a little bit of a voice crack slips through. As Fire's going to clip through Cray as well, as Flambo's going to be the last one to get traded out, as the point goes in favor of the Zimbabwe Zebras.
The point does flip for Zimbabwe Zebras there, but you did invest in the Gravitown Surge as well as the Barrage. That's a combo that's now gone. You did throw away Blizzard, but you're going to Grav, Death Blossom, Rally here coming in for St. Pauli, so not too shabby. Especially I think go a little quicker here. I don't think really know Transflect doesn't quite have that Casino Rush online just yet, so they go fast, but Yoda gets caught out! That's a terrible pick there. Oh, no.
The biggest, scariest thing that we're looking here is now we're going to be having energy developed in Pharah on the table as well. Nobody's going to be able to get it, and the staggers are going to be so rough. Kari falling down to 1 HP. Nathan getting
what the hell is going on?
Nathan looking for greed here, does get barraged out. Rally coming out from Corey to stable, as they're not going to be able to walk, as Yak gets a second. Does get finally traded out here by Cray. Ults are going to be in the side of Yoda getting a grab here. Never mind. They're going to be looking to kill this. I actually like this grab here. You need to prevent Fire from having this energy developed. That's going to be the way your team wins, is by punishing him not being developed in time, which is I think it's a really, really good grab there, because you're going to be able to find more cracks. You're going to be able to live longer in the fight.
Yeah, no, I like the grab there from Yoda as well, especially knowing if you can reset the Zarya energy, get the point flip here as well. And fair, I mean, not too bad of an investment either. They're gonna, they used in the Death Blossom in your spawn. So if you just get away with just using your own Gravitown Surge, still gonna have your own Death Blossom ready to go from Nathan, but Casino Rush comes out early. Does Yak get punished out in the backline here with the Death Blossom from Nathan? Yep.
Yak does get punished, but gets traded out. Somebody has to get on cart now. Who's he going to be? His Flambeau falls off the map, unfortunately, due to the concussion mine here.
Oh, they can't
by
touch.
Neptune as he's farming clips. But it's only 1-1, okay? It's not like it's 2-0 right now. As Cray's going to reset, it's going to be the smart thing to do. You need to die fast because the objective is, I believe, is going to be on the other side of the map. It's on the opposite corner. Everybody needs, they need to, or no, it's in the, to the top right. I thought it was on the top left.
Yeah, but the issue here, though, is you used, you know, I guess you Casino Rush, but that's all I had to use. They still have Orbital Ray, still have Barrage, still Graviton Surge. They're probably able to cap this point here early, and the fact that you're playing this kind of slower composition with the Brigitte compared to, say, the Juno and the Kiriko. Oh, the grab finds nothing, though! Never mind,
Neptune
Barrage
is still
gets
going to
enough.
find two, though, getting Yoda and Cray. As that's just going to be a little bit of cleanup here as we're seeing Yak trying to get onto Nathan. As we're seeing the swap off of the Reaper, I really don't. I don't know. I don't like that.
Don't like that either. Because
I
is the
think
Tracer
Reaper
gonna?
is best.
What's the Tracer gonna do here? There's
Orbital comes out from sliced bread, first tempo, trying to get Yoda again, reset energies. Fire hasn't even really developed too much energy yet, now he is. Corey forcing the rally, looking to brawl out Fire, but you're not going to have the DPS pressure anymore. You don't have a Reaper who's going to be able to kill a Fire.
Oh.
But point gets flipped!
That's why you get the Tracer. That's why.
That's why you get the Tracer. You're able to get 10% off the clock here
For
inside.
free?
For free? Sounds good to me. Anyways,
15%.
coming out here, you're seeing Blizz still coming out here and Orbital Ray as just the only ultimate here on the side of the Zebras is going to be gone as they die. The Blizz comes out and it's oppressive and gets sliced bread as Transflick has no Suzu anymore and then no TP, but fine, they're going to slowly. Okay. Nathan getting the point was like the only benefit I think right now because it's going to be harder to brawl now because Yak is on the Reaper instead of the mate. You don't have the DPS pressure anymore.
See,
as
Neptune,
long as Yoda doesn't have it.
that's how you solo. That's how you solo Blizzard to support. Flambo Jambo showing Neptune how it's done. And now they're also going to have Orbital Ray for this chokehold here. Do they go aggressive like we saw the Zimbabwe Zebras, or they hold back a little bit here? They are going to go in, but Nathan's already down. It's going to be 1-for-1 though. A transfer for Nathan. A great exchange here for this. Oh, Yak's in though. Yak is in. This is just chaos right here, WYND.
And guess what?
The flip.
Neptune flips point.
And that's why I had the Pharah.
This is reminding me of something. This fight here reminded me of something.
Yeah?
Seems like it just happened
Hmm.
a minute ago.
I mean, and then you're walking, you have your Big Bang combo with the Graviton Surge as well as the Pulse Bomb Flambo Jambo on the flanking touch cast of all things. I don't think they even have touch. They don't. They're going to concede that point, and now match point here for Zimbabwe, and they still have the Consumer Rush here for a nice point to open things up and potentially get Fire or Grav online.
I still think Nathan needs to go back to the Reaper here. We need a flex CPS who's going to be able to get damage. It's Flambo that needs to swap to the...
Yeah, these swaps are not good. I'm gonna be real, and I don't know why we're keeping this. I don't know why we're keeping the Brig. I don't know why we're keeping the Brig. I'm gonna be real. Like Juno Brig,
No,
yeah, is kind of meta, but
on a flex DPS. I need to see Corey on like a BAP here or something that's going to be a little more.
that's why I had the Brigade. There's only so many times that can happen. There's only so many times that this can happen when before we're proving it incorrectly. But here comes Yoda coming in.
Barrage will prove it wrong.
Oh, die with
Does trade
grab.
out 1-for-1. Die with grab. I don't hate that though, because you trade 1-for-1 for Neptune's ult.
Pulse Bomb comes up
Pulse
from Nathan
does
as
get
well.
sliced. A little unnecessary
But-
though, as you already lost three of your teammates. You don't need to look for the pulse bomb here, unfortunately. But you did get a 1-for-1 trade with Neptune's ult, which is going to be the scariest ult in the game, personally to me, for the side of the St. Paulies to be looking for here, as Gravs obviously have been missing people.
Yeah, grabs are a tough thing to come around these days. It's a really hard element to hit. You gotta be within what, like 20 meters of the next person, so it's tough. But I mean, look at Fire just walking right in spawn, just solo grabs Corey, but Corey gets the bubble on top of this one, getting the peeling from Cray, but they still get the kill. It's going 1-for-1, but Yoda's Graviton Surge much larger here. But where's the follow-up? It's just not there. Slam Gem was too busy flanking in the backline. Do they get a high noon kill? Does find one on sliced bread, and this is a chaotic fight here. WYND somehow though the same Paulies are coming on top of it. For a little bit here, just Flambo on point, but yeah, walking in Transfect and Fire on the point is tough, and now the supports are stuck. This is I don't like what I'm seeing again. We have Rally, but still the swap on the Winston.
Man, I'm feeling you there, okay? It's I don't know who's calling these swaps. Unfortunately, I don't know if it's like a lack of comms, if they're just making it like themselves, but it's just not the correct call to be looking for here. Fire is going to get rallied. Needs to die right now. Needs to die. Fire, fire, fire. Please, everybody shoot Zarya.
Zarya.
No, Zarya's healing. Zarya.
And now they orbit array, but they're losing with orbit array. What the Flambo Jambo?
Flambo gets 3.
Flankbo Dinkbo. He buys the kills.
Okay, these guys are gonna give me a heart attack.
They win every fight they should lose and lose every fight they should win. The same Paulies are an enigma. I don't know what to make of this squad. And Yak swaps to Sombra. Okay, maybe
Okay,
like
guys,
hack on the Winston. What is in the water? What's in the water?
Guys, I don't know what's going on anymore. Are we playing Overwatch? What the Yoda gets a pick on Yank. This Sombra of all things.
They did get free flip, however, and Nakasumish comes right back in here for a side of St. Paulies. Or for the side of the Zimbabwe Zebras and Flambo Jambo's down. Fire has some energy. Pulse Bomb not combined from Nathan as well. They might just completely whiff this. Got the early pick over to Yak, and still not enough. Here's Transflect and Neptune laying up the point. And now Neptune with a barrage to clean things up. Celebratory fireworks 4th of July a couple weeks early here. And now the Zimbabwe Zebras capitalize on the pure chaos of the swaps. And they're going to finish the sweep here 3-0 against the St. Paulies.
Now, it is a 3-0. Yeah, congratulations, right? But this is one of the most confusing games of Overwatch I think I've watched.
It's definitely up there. I had no idea what the hell was going on at the end.
At Neptune, are you fat by Cray? All right, now it's the time of the night. Who is going to be the first person in Aurora Overwatch Season 8 to get MVP?
It's definitely a good question. I want to give a shout out to one of at least the rookies there for the side of Zimbabwe Zebras to get an, either sliced bread or dish. I think they both played extremely well. You know, we expect Neptune, Fire, and Yak to perform, but with how good these rookies looked in their first match, I kind of want to give them a quick highlight. I don't know if you agree with one of those, but we can always be cringy like, I think it's Neptune, but
Honestly, I would be completely down. I think Sliced Bread has been in all 3 maps, so it has been, I believe the Juno, while Transflict was on Kiri.
And then
Yeah,
they were on the Mercy on Lijiang Tower.
Oh, the Mercy to Neptune's Freya.
Freya wasn't enabled in F1.
What's the SR that Sliced Bread came into? Because I think they performed pretty well. They've been
Pretty
able to
sure
live this
Sliced
whole
Bread
time.
is gold on support, if I'm not mistaken.
I think they played phenomenally. Then I'd be down to give it to Sliced Bread.
Yeah, we can go ahead and go into Sliced Bread and potentially bring him in for an interview here as well. If I can find him in the Discord, we'll pull him in for a quick one. There we go. And there they are, Sliced Bread, our MVP of the first game of Aurora Overwatch Clash Season 8. How are we feeling coming in getting that early dub to start the season 3-0 fashion?
Good. First game that I played, so surprised that it went so well.
I got a question for you. First question that you're gonna be asked. What are the comms like on your team? Who's lead comming? Who's like mainly? Is it just 3 people yapping and you just don't know what's going on? I'm a little interested here.
Yeah, it's 3 people yapping for sure. Honestly, not sure who's talking the most of the time.
Okay.
But there's a lot of yapping.
Interesting.
So with my question, I want to wonder what's like playing on the bit of an off role, because I believe you came and signed in for that main role of tank. You're kind of being moved over on the support, not something you're very comfortable with, but you know that you have Neptune, who is a contender's coach and main support role. So is he giving you any pointers? Are you helping you out, or are you guys kind of just going with what feels right at the time? You know, how is kind of the managing going inside the VC at times?
It was definitely mostly just kind of going with what seemed right. I came in pretty willing to play support. I almost just selected flex, but I think these roles are clearly working the best.
Tough to argue with what we just saw.
I think we're mostly just sort of figuring it out as we're going.
All right, I want a little insider leak here, okay? Do you think it's gonna be Fire mainly staying on this tank role here for the whole season? And if so, what are your thoughts on Fire only pretty much playing Czar and Ram?
I think I mean, I think that's fine. I feel like the not super divey comps were working well with like what people wanted to play on the backline and stuff. Yeah.
All right,
Alrighty,
before we
Neptune, you wanna?
Neptune, what?
Not Neptune, sorry. Booney, you called me Vind earlier, okay? I get my one.
Mine was like at least close. I don't know where that.
You wanna go for the one?
I can. So, Slice Bird, this is your first time winning MVP in the league and your first game all around. So you need to know that every single interview we ask El Clasico, of course, to finalize our interviews. So if you could not win MVP for your team for this series, who would you give it to and why?
Probably Fire. I think on the tank. Worked really well.
I know WYND fuming at that pick.
but everybody played good. Everybody played good.
And you answered it just like a veteran always does. Everyone's like, "Oh, well, everybody on my team played so well. I don't know if I can choose one." So you've been here for a long time. You know, mature beyond your games, I suppose. But with that being said, we'll send you back to your team to celebrate your victory again. Congrats on the MVP and the 3-0 dub. Start your season, and we hope to speak to you again here soon.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure.
All right, WYND, we're done here. Our first game is in the books. Aurora Overwatch Clash Season 8 is officially upon us. Are you as hyped now as you were about 45 or so minutes ago?
I am. I'm ready to see how more teams in the different groups especially play against each other. As we might seem to, like, I don't know, you could see like a little bit of a meta forming from different groups depending on who they're playing against and like a little insider knowledge, right? Some teams might be just playing to counter pick a little bit more for people in the bracket, but you never know. I think it's going to be pretty interesting to see how different teams and how their playstyles will bleed into the other groups as the series go on with the new system of how games are going to be played this season.
Yeah, that's a very good point there. Like, do we see a bit of metagaming, almost kind of like the regions in Overwatch League, right? Over WCS, do we see like more dive in group, and I guess in spring group, do we see brawl in summer? Who knows what we're gonna see? And then once things get kind of realigned, do we see a clash of styles? I'm excited to see how that works out. I never really thought about it that way until you just brought that up. So yeah, that should be fun. If you have any closing words, you can say them now before I send us away.
I'll be all good.
All right, WYND will be all good. WYND, Vind, whoever, Neptune, Booney, whoever we are. We've been your producing team tonight. We thank you guys for tuning in. We hope to see you again. I believe our next game is going to be on Thursday. We have 3 games on Thursday at 9, 9, and 9:15. So hopefully we'll get some of those brought up for you guys. If not, you can stay tuned for personal channels. Of course, stay tuned to the Discord. Join if you haven't already. Link down there at the bottom right of your little prod screen right now. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Have a great rest of your day, buddy.